Is it a must to use probiotics after drinking ozonated water? Hi guys, here's Paula, the crazy ozone lady from thepowerofozone.com with another installment of Ask the Crazy Ozone Lady. So apparently there are some other fellow crazy people who would like to know what the crazy ozone lady thinks about certain topics. And in this installment, I will answer the following question, which has been submitted to my website. Okay, but before we start, please make sure to subscribe to my newsletter. So go to thepowerofozone.com/news and also follow me on Telegram. You will find a link to it in the description below the video. I have the best conspiracy facts ever, so you should definitely follow Telegram. Follow me on Telegram and all the other alternative social media pages. But yeah, so let's go to the question. So June wrote on my website the following. Hello, I was wondering if taking probiotics is required after drinking ozone water. I have tried taking it for the duration of the treatment with ozonated water, but it seems to stir up my Candida. I am afraid of depleting good flora along with killing off the bad guys. So I would like to divide this question in two different parts. So the first part is taking probiotics required after drinking ozonated water? And so the short answer is no, I don't believe it is. And this is something that I laid out in an article that I wrote on my blog post, which with the title, Does Drinking Ozonated Water Damage the Gut Biome? And here I explained a number of things. So when you drink ozonated water, when you ingest ozonated water, really any type of water, then where it goes is into the small intestine. So this is here the part that is in pink. And the small intestine is actually not that small. It is pretty long. So in a human being, this is between 22 and 25 feet long. And it is filled with fluid. So it is filled with gastric juices and remnants of food and with other secretions that are constantly produced by the small intestine. But the most important part to know about the small intestine is that in a healthy human being, the small intestine is supposed to be as good as free of bacteria. So it is not completely free, but it is as good as. So this is a healthy state of the small intestine when there are very, very, very few bacteria. So if you end up killing some bacteria by drinking ozonated water, then number one, you will most likely only kill the ones that are in the small intestine, not in the large intestine. And if you kill off some of them, then this is really no big deal because there shouldn't be any bacteria in the small intestine to begin with, or very, very few. And the few that should be there, I believe that they can be easily repopulated just by eating. So everything that you eat, all the food that you take in through your mouth, has remnants of bacteria, and because what you eat is not completely sterile, even if you cook it through, even if you wash it out really well, there will always be trace amounts of bacteria in your food, and I believe that this is enough to repopulate what is needed to be in the small intestine. But as I said, even if you happen to really kill off a lot of the bacteria in the small intestine, this is no big deal because there are not supposed to be many bacteria there to begin with. So this is one point. So okay, this is one thing to understand. So the small intestine is supposed to be as good as free of bacteria. The good bacteria, so 99% of, or even more than 99, I believe 99.9% of all the good bacteria reside in the large intestine. So this is, I'm not sure if people can see my mouse, but so this is the big colon, the big intestine that surrounds this pink intestine that is shown here in this picture. And please ignore this the arrow here. So most of the bacteria is in the large intestine. So basically, in order to kill off the good bacteria, you would need to drink enough ozonated water to basically traverse, to move through those 20 to 25 feet of small intestine in order to reach the large intestine, because only then would you be able to kill some of the good bacteria. And the water would still have to have its ozone charge at this point. And this is highly unlikely that this is the case, because ozone, of course, reacts with everything it gets in contact with. And the small intestine being filled with around 1 gallon of various fluids, then so if you drink the ozonated water, the ozone water will immediately react with those fluids in the small intestine. Well, it already starts reacting with everything that is in your mouth, then in your esophagus, your stomach, and then whatever moves beyond the stomach, the small intestine, and there it encounters those gastric juices and those secretions, and it immediately reacts with them. So let's say hypothetically that you were able to drink enough water to fill the entire small intestine, then the ozone would still have to be maintained. So the water will still have to have its ozone charge at this point. And this is highly, highly unlikely because ozone is so reactive. So this is why I pointed out, this is very improbable that you would kill any good bacteria by drinking ozonated water. So I do not think that this is really a concern. Yeah, so this is really the main point. Now, there are really no studies on this topic. So those are really, I think, so far this is all we have. So just ideas, thoughts, or thinking, is this likely, is this unlikely? This is all we have. So, but for this reason, I would really not be concerned about this. Now, but there is another part of the question, because I then asked the person if she experiences any negative reactions after drinking ozonated water, if she has any reason to believe that something may be going wrong. And so she said that yes, that she felt some irritation after drinking ozonated water, and there was something else. Let's see exactly what it was. Let me see what it was. Yeah, something noticeable in my stomach area. I feel a little irritated and uneasy. So some uneasiness and some irritation in her stomach area. So okay, so now let's assume. So this doesn't sound very serious, but it does concern her a bit, and she thinks that this could be maybe because of the ozone killing off some bacteria. Now, as I laid out, I believe that this is unlikely that drinking ozonated water would do this. What I think is more likely, when you feel any type of irritation, uneasiness, or maybe even some more dramatic adverse reactions after drinking ozonated water, and those are some things that I've experienced. I've experienced some really, really horrendous side effects from drinking ozonated water, something that I talked about in another video. So when you experience anything negative after ingesting ozone water, I believe it is more likely that this is a Herxheimer reaction. So basically the ozone is killing off some bacteria or some other microorganisms, some pathogenic bacteria which shouldn't be there, and that this is what is causing those adverse events. And so, because let's remember that I believe around 50 or 60% of the population apparently are infected with Helicobacter pylori bacteria, which reside in the stomach. And I believe also SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is probably also much more prevalent than assumed. So it is possible that this is what people experience who drink ozonated water, that those are some adverse reactions, some kill-off, some die-off reactions, and that ozone is actually cleaning up the house, so to say. Now, okay, so the question will be, okay, how can you find out? How can you know for sure whether what you're experiencing is because you're actually healing, so you're actually killing off some of the bad guys by the ozone water, or if you're doing some damage? So there is one way to find this out. Now, this is not a bulletproof way. This is not, generally accepted by some ozone experts, but this is something that has worked for me over time. And again, this is not 100% guarantee that this method will tell you whether you're dealing with an ozone-induced herx or not, but it can give you some ideas. So one way to figure out whether what you're experiencing after ingesting ozone water, whether this is a herx, is to do some more ozone water and drink it right away. Okay, so this would look like this. So let's say you make a first batch of ozone water, you drink it, and you experience some pain, some cramps, some nausea. And so you want to know, okay, what is this? Is this an ozone die-off or not? So then what you would do, you would immediately prepare a second batch of ozonated water and then drink it right after, still while you're possibly experiencing the side effects after the first batch. And so now, if this is an ozone-induced Herxheimer reaction, then the second batch of ozone water should either improve the reaction, so it should either diminish it or eliminate completely. And so this has worked for me a number of ways. So this is, in my opinion, one way to figure out whether what you're experiencing is a die-off reaction from the ozone. So basically, more ozone can take care of ozone-induced Herxheimer reactions. Sounds crazy, but try it out. Okay, but now let's say hypothetically, in my opinion, as I said, this is very, very unlikely, but let's say hypothetically speaking that what you're experiencing is not a die-off reaction and not some reaction to maybe the cold temperature of the water, or maybe because of the volume of the water, or something other unrelated. Let's assume that this is because you actually killed some of the good guys. Okay, so what do you do? How do you address this? Well, in that case, you really need to do what you would do with really any other treatment, conventional or otherwise. You basically need to weigh your options. So you need to make a cost and benefit analysis. And this, you would also do this with, let's say, antibiotics or many other treatments. So now, another example, let's say you have SIBO, so you have bacteria in your small intestine. You go to your doctor and the doctor says, well, we need to give you antibiotics. And this is how you conventionally treat SIBO. You just take antibiotics. But you know that when you take the antibiotics, they could possibly take care of your problem, so they could very, very likely kill the bad bacteria in your small intestine, but they would most likely also kill the good bacteria in your large intestine. So at this point, again, you have to weigh your options. Is it worth it for you? Is it worth it to pay this price, to lose the good bacteria, but have the benefit of getting rid of the SIBO? And by the way, this antibiotics approach doesn't seem to be very successful. I think the rate of people who then relapse is pretty high. I think like 40 or 50% or higher. But some people are successful with this approach and they choose to do this. And so what you can do is basically you say, okay, I will lose the good bacteria, but I will also lose the SIBO, and later on I will just try to fix the good bacteria by eating fermented foods, taking probiotics, bone broths, and so on. Right? And the same thing you have to do with also other options. So because now some people don't want to take antibiotics. I, for example, I am very critical of antibiotics. I would try to avoid them as much as possible and only consider them as the absolute last option. So I understand fully that people don't like to take pharmaceuticals, but even if you go the natural route, if you take, for example, things like oregano oil or olive leaf extract or some other natural antimicrobials, they also can do some collateral damage. So they can also kill off some of your good bacteria. So basically, many things that you will do, if not all things that you will do, have some side effects, and so you will have to deal with the side effects at some point. So you will have to weigh options at this point. But in my opinion, it is highly unlikely, for all the reasons that I described here in this article. It's highly unlikely that by drinking ozonated water that you would damage your gut biome. So this is the short version of the answer. Now, the longer version is, so some people may say, hey, Paula, but haven't you paid attention? Have you done your homework? We know that ozone doesn't disturb the biome. There's this study of those two nice Italian guys here. The use of ozonated water and rectal ozone suppletions in patients with intestinal dysbiosis. Bam. And here they come to the conclusion that basically doing both ozonated water and rectal ozone suppletions not only does not disturb the gut biome and actually fixes it, they say. Okay, so some people like to cite this study to show that ozone cannot possibly damage the gut biome. But here's the thing. So when you look at the most important section of the study, and this is basically the most important section of any study, so this is, by the way, a quick tip here, how to read studies, and the fastest way is to go to the materials and methods section. So the materials and methods section, this is the most important section of any study. So if you want to read studies really, really quickly, scroll down to the materials and methods section first. And so when you read the section here, you understand that they actually did not look at the gut biome of the study participants. So at no point did they collect stool samples, and at no point did they analyze the stool samples to find out how the gut biome looked of the study participants. So no, there is no sorry about this. So there's no study that shows the impact of ozone treatments, any type of ozone treatments, on the dysbiosis. Now, it's possible that in the meantime someone did a study that I'm not aware of. If it exists, please link to it in the comments and let me know. But so far, I don't know of any study. Now, but some other people say, well, but ozone kills bacteria selectively, so it only kills the anaerobic bacteria, which are the bad bacteria, and it leaves the aerobic bacteria, which is the good bacteria, intact. Now, this is another fallacy. So this is actually exactly the other way around. So first of all, so the vast majority of gut bacteria, 99.9 or above, are in the large intestine. And I believe, let me see if this is the right Wikipedia article here. So it says here, the small intestine contains a trace amount of microorganisms. Okay, here then further below, in addition, the large intestine contains the largest bacterial ecosystem in the human body. And about 99% of the large intestine and feces flora are made up of obligate anaerobes, such as bacteroids and bifidobacterium. So 99%, and I found another article that says it's actually even higher than that, of the good gut bacteria are anaerobes, obligate anaerobes. That means they absolutely need an oxygen-deprived environment in order to survive and to grow and to flourish. So it is exactly the other way around. Also, ozone does not selectively kill only anaerobic bacteria. So this is here from another article of mine. What's it called? Can ozone therapy make a Babesia infection worse? Because some people argue, they say Babesia is an aerobic bacteria, and ozone being really a type of oxygen, then ozone could potentially make aerobic bacteria grow. No, this is not correct. So there's a number of studies that show that that ozone can kill aerobic bacteria, and I cite here all those studies here. You see, those are all the examples. On top of this, here, there's a number of aerobic bacteria, there's many, many more, which are pathogenic, which are disease-causing. So this is another debunking of the idea that aerobic bacteria are good, anaerobic bacteria are bad. No, there's a bunch of bacteria which are aerobic, which love oxygen, but they are actually can cause pretty serious diseases. So this is just a side note about bacteria and ozone. But so this is the long version of it. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to mention. So since I wrote that article, does drinking ozonated water damage the gut biome, and where I laid out why I don't think that this happens, then someone posted a link to a study where they were treating mice with hyperbaric oxygen, and they analyzed their gut biome of the mice before the hyperbaric oxygen treatments and afterwards. And they found out that the hyperbaric oxygen treatments actually increased the number of aerobic bacteria. And so some people say that this could be used as a refutation of my argument that ozone water does not damage the gut biome. And because basically one could derive from this mice study the following argument, that basically even if there is just a general saturation of the tissue with oxygen, that this increases the oxygen-loving bacteria in the gut. And because probably something very similar also happens when you drink ozonated water. So although when you drink ozonated water, although there is no direct contact of the ozonated water with the good gut bacteria in your large intestine, you could make the argument that drinking the water just increases the oxygen saturation of the general abdominal area, of the general intestinal area, and that will disturb the gut biome in the large intestine by increasing the oxygen-loving bacteria. And so, yes, you could extrapolate this from the mice study. I agree, but there are a number of problems with this mice study. So one of them is they use only 5 mice. Okay, so 5 animals. So this is very, very little. So it's really difficult, in my opinion, to take this as the absolute ultimate answer to on the topic. And number two, whenever you have animal studies and you want to extrapolate onto humans, this is another huge problem, because mice have a very, very different anatomy and physiology than humans, clearly. So it's not clear whether you can extrapolate this onto humans at all. Number one. Then I also looked directly at the study results. Let's see whether they're here. And so I could not see a huge, overwhelming evidence that hyperbaric oxygen treatments really changed the gut biome significantly. So you see here the red results here are the control group, which did not receive hyperbaric oxygen treatments. The blue one are the ones with hyperbaric. So they were compared. So they're all over the place. So in some cases, some bacterial species increased, some were reduced, some remained more or less the same, but there is no overwhelming equal outcome, in my opinion. So plus you're looking at just 5 mice. So again, this is not clear how informative this is. And another huge problem that many studies have these days is they did not look at any clinical symptoms. So they didn't look whether the fact that the mice had more oxygen-loving bacteria later on, whether this resulted in any pathology. Did the mice develop some digestive issues? Did they develop diarrhea or constipation or displayed some other distress? They didn't look at this. They actually said at the end of the study that the results were modest and complex. So this is, it's not clear how to interpret this onto humans, but theoretically speaking, yes, it is possible that by drinking ozonated water, by doing really any type of ozone treatments or oxygen treatments like hyperbaric oxygen, or maybe even exercising while breathing oxygen, that this can change your gut biome. But it is not clear whether, just by changing your gut biome temporarily because of the treatments, whether this will result in some pathology. Because we also know there's another study that I remember reading where they discovered that by allowing people to just take a walk for 30 minutes, that this alone changed their the composition of their gut biome. So you cannot say just because there's a change it is automatically bad. You have to look at the symptoms, and nowadays the studies very, very rarely do this, and also this mice study didn't do this. Okay, so this was the long version of my answer, but the short version is again, I don't think that drinking ozonated water automatically requires you to take probiotics. If there is some immediate negative reaction after drinking ozonated water, it is most likely a die-off reaction, in which case you want to drink more ozonated water to test this idea, to find out if this is really the case. And if drinking more ozonated water will make the initial bad reaction go away, then yes, most likely that's what you were dealing with, and then you want to continue drinking the ozonated water. So basically the bad reaction is a sign that you are killing something off that shouldn't be there. So this is a good sign. So I would suggest to continue with drinking the ozonated water. Yeah, now if in case you drink the ozonated water and you get worse, then of course you want to discontinue, and then you can try various different things, see if this will go away by taking probiotics. But this is very, very rare as far as I know. So this is what the Crazy Ozone Lady says about that, about probiotics and drinking ozonated water. Thank you guys for tuning in, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.